Hi everyone and welcome to Green Monk TV. My guest on the show today is SAP's Chief Sustainability Officer, Peter Graf. And we're going to have a little chat today around, Peter, do you want to introduce the topic?
Certainly can, and thanks for having me, Tom. Well, I'm meeting a lot of people who have very different opinions about sustainability, and I started to kind of categorize them in my own mind, thinking about if there's like four groups, where would I put these people? And what we envisioned for the conversation today, Tom, was that we allow the audience, the people who watch this video, to kind of make a self-test. If they're in the bystander group, if they're in the myopic group, in the opportunistic group, or the strategic group when it comes to sustainability. And I've had some fun with this also with my own team, and so it'd be cool to invite everyone to draw their own conclusions today. This kind of categorization is the result of the conversations I have with people all over the world. There's a large group which certainly becomes smaller right now, but I think it's still the strongest group, which is what I call the bystanders. These are the people who mostly believe that sustainability is some kind of a luxury of tree hugging and philanthropic, altruism. So these people will only move into sustainability if there is legal requirements, which they hope doesn't come anytime soon. For them, the whole green thing is not very relevant. And again, I think this group is getting smaller, but still there's an amazing amount of people standing out there. They might even talk the talk, but from what they do, there's no change in comparison to their previous behavior. The only thing that will get them to change is legislation. The second group is really the people who are, I call them myopic. They have understood that there is tremendous business value in being seen as green, and they use this in marketing and sales conversations and communications, but really, sustainability hasn't made it into day-to-day operations of their organization. So they run a bigger risk of being seen as greenwashing, and you will not see those companies do a good job in monitoring sustainability performance. So let me talk a little bit about opportunistic companies. Opportunistic companies are using sustainability as a way primarily to reduce short-term cost, or to increase short-term profitability. They will see sustainability as a welcome way to reduce energy consumption and to make a good news story about it. They will use it as becoming more productive in terms of the natural material and resources that they use, and they'll make a story about this. But the primary driver is really short-term cost. And it's great because they're doing something, but they're not taking a strategic stance at it. Those are companies that usually, even in this opportunistic group, that are usually measuring footprint and actually start doing those type of things because they understand the added value of having a great brand in terms of sustainability. But in this group, it has made it into the operations, and these people drive short-term cost savings through those types of measures. The fourth group is the strategic group. And the strategic group is a group of companies that has understood that there is significant business value that you can create because of more sustainable practices. And you're not using sustainability just to drive short-term profitability. You understand that sustainable practices actually balance short and long-term profitability objectives. And creating even short-term how should I say that? Not driving only short-term profitability, but finding the right balance between what helps now and what will help later. That's when you look at it strategically. And those companies have a broader view because they manage economics, environmental, and social aspects together. And what you can also see is that in comparison to the opportunistic group, will report and create transparency. This group really takes accountability by setting out strategic targets, and they are actually creating a much more profound engagement process with stakeholders, and they do performance management in terms of sustainability. They actively manage their performance. They're not looking at it, so how did we do? They're actually trying to create a plan going forward. Many of the companies you see in this camp are organizations that understand that their very existence is on the line. If they don't drive sustainable practices. So think of a company that produces food, for example. To create high quality food, you need a, how should I put it, working planet, right? A planet that is not polluted, because otherwise you cannot produce the food that you need. You need to have water to grow the crops. You need to have not too hot summers so that your crops doesn't dry out before you can harvest it and so forth. So they have a fundamental interest in driving this type of future, and these companies recognize it before companies in other sectors, right? And that's why you can see the different groups spread across different industries in the way that I described it. So Tom, which group do you belong to?
Well, obviously I'd like to think I'm in the strategic group. How do the people watching this video decide for themselves which group they fall into?
I think there are some very simple tests. I mean, let me talk about Peter Graf. So I've always been intrigued by the green movement, and specifically I've been intrigued by the use of technology and business to get these things solved. So I would say about 10 years ago, I'd be a bystander. I would travel wherever I travel. I'd go and do my vacation in the Caribbean, fly the whole family out there, without thinking about what is the impact. And I would like to see myself as being green and responsible, but in reality, it didn't go into my practices. Then when we started with the whole conversation at SAP, I was looking for things that I've done in the past without even trying to think about being green myself. So, for example, as a German, there's a big culture of recycling in Germany. I've recycled paper all my life. Actually, I collected recycling paper to help, my father's flying club, buy new gliders. So we collected paper when I was a little kid. So now I find, hey, I've been doing things before that I could actually say, hey, see, here I'm green. But I did never start them with the purpose of being more sustainable. It was just the way how things were done where I'm from. And now I understand, oops, I could market it as being green. Now it's about being opportunistic. Now I started to become opportunistic when I put solar panels on my roof because frankly, it was a financial decision. It's the same driver that makes other people put windmills in their garden and what have you. It's a financial reward system. And I made a lot of research and figured out, is it a 5-year payback for the $20,000 that I had to pay after all the subsidies, or is it a 7-year payback? So I made that calculation, and I made a very conscious decision. I would hope now that I'm trying to be more strategic about it, which is one of the reasons why I took this job. Because my motivation and passion for what I do is that SAP has a huge lever with all these thousands of companies that we can influence in terms of their own sustainability performance. Think about that. I mean, one organization can never be sustainable if the supply chain in which it works is sustainable, because there's no chance for the supply chain to deliver a sustainable product or sustainable operations to the world. So now I'm sitting in this position with the world's largest provider of automated business processes, and that gets me excited. Now we can set targets. Now we can make things happen that I could not have made happen with the mindset 3, 4, or 5 years ago. And that's kind of my own kind of evolution through going through the stages. And again, I'd like to see myself as being strategic, and I'm sure there are things that I'm not doing right now that I should be doing. So the people who are strategic continuously challenge themselves to become better, even from where they are.